Welcome to the RJLT Economics. In this podcast, I want to answer one question. Can price caps solve Europe's electricity problem? The short answer is probably not. But there are some nuances to it. To understand this issue and to answer this question, I want to develop today's podcast in two steps. First, I want to point to three causes, as far as I can see, that have led to the spike in electricity price. Second, I want to analyze and discuss what price caps could do to these three causes, respectively. And I think we should arrive at the conclusion that, well, price caps could keep the unit price of electricity under control. It would probably lead to some shortages. Now, first things first, let's look at some of the causes. First, the first cause, very direct, which is a spike, a rise in the price of gas and oil. A lot of the generators use oil and natural gas, and as those fuels become more expensive, naturally electricity becomes more expensive. Electricity being the product. That is something that I don't think we need too much discussion. Second, there is weather. This summer, we in Europe has experienced the worst drought in 500 years. And this means that not only is water quite scarce, rainfall quite scarce, but also wind has been actually quite scarce. So, in fact, as precipitation became quite scarce, the level of a lot of rivers became quite low. And this led to a problem that actually a lot of people, including me, did not foresee, which is that as the level of river became too low, a lot of nuclear power plants had to be put offline. And this has happened in France, which has led to, in fact, the highest price of electricity in the European Union, the day forward price for suppliers. Basically, I think the reason is very simple, right? Nuclear power plants are essentially just nuclear powered boilers. And water needs to be used, number one, to be burned into steam to propel the turbines that generate electricity. And at the same time, water are used to cool the reactors. And as the water level becomes too low, nuclear power plants cannot safely function and they have to be put offline. At the same time, as I said, because there has been weeks after weeks of sunny weather, really good weather. I think I've never experienced a summer so good in Europe. But a byproduct of this is that the windmills that, not windmill actually, the wind farms, the wind electricity generators that the Europeans have invested so heavily in, don't actually work without wind. So because water and because nuclear and wind power have been quite weak, have been not really contributing to the energy grid, and this has led to a comparative shortage in a lot of the countries, particularly in a country like France, where there's heavy reliance on wind and nuclear. This is really a great combination this summer. At the same time, we also have to point out that because we had a lot of sunny weather, if there had been more investment in solar power, particularly by consumers themselves with in the form of solar panels on their rooftop, then perhaps the strain could be somewhat alleviated. But I guess since the continent of Europe does not regularly receive a lot of sunshine, the promotion of solar power is somewhat not well received. So I think this basically overall the contribution of the weather this summer has been that there's a lot of shortage in renewable energies. And third and finally, a very important cause that has led to this spike in electricity price is the liberalization of the electricity market, which has led to a lot of trading and inevitably some speculation. And as a lot of money flew into this market, I suppose speculation has played a role in leading to this sharp rise in electricity prices. So these are the three causes. What could a price cap or any combination of price capping plans contribute to the electricity prices? Actually, how would such price caps affect these three factors? Let's first look at the first one, which is the simplest one, which is weather. Obviously, it's not going to control the weather. Yeah, right. You can cap electricity price, and it's not going to do anything to the weather. But we know that the autumn is coming, and rainfall will come, and we'll have a very wet and perhaps quite cold winter. And that means that nuclear power will come online. And if by any chance it's also a windy winter, then very chilly winter, then perhaps there will be also the wind generators will also be putting into the grid some electricities, putting in the grid some electricities, right? But at the same time, we also need to understand that as winter comes, as the temperature drops, there is also an increase in demand for electricity and for oil and gas. That means that there will be some more demand. So even though we have some increase in the supply of renewables, nuclear included, as the temperature comes down, there will also be higher demand. So the net effect, we don't know. Probably is going to be a strain on the electricity grid, but that's not something we know. But one thing I would point to is that with such price cap, there could be some disincentives for renewable energies, because the cost for a lot of renewables are indeed higher, and those are, in my judgment, mostly just the scams. They cannot really function without subsidies, which are basically taken from oil and gas. I'm not saying that oil and gas are so great, because they do pollute and their extraction is damaging the ecosystem. But at the same time, we must also not pretend that the alternative is really green. It's anything but. Sorry. So that's something that we need to keep in mind, right? The disincentives for renewables. And then let's look at another factor, which is the liberalization of this trading. I think with price caps, if there is really a EU-wide price cap that is quite detailed with certain conditions, this will curtail speculation. I think a lot of the hot money that has gone into this market will exit, because basically it becomes uninteresting as a speculative futures market to them. They may chase higher yields elsewhere. And this means that there will be some successful control of price levels across the European Union. But this market, this liberalized market, may not function so well with price caps. Let's say I think Spain is generating excess electricity, and it sells to France. It sells to France for a certain price, and if the price is capped too low, then it becomes uninteresting for them to do that. Perhaps it becomes more economically interesting to actually cut their production, right? So basically, a price control could mean that a lot of these international but still intra-EU trades in electricity will not take place. And some countries that have more supply than demand, they will not have any problem. They will enjoy low electricity prices, but they will not have the excess to export to some of the countries that have a shortage of supply. That will be one problem, right? And then let's look at the final factor, which is gas and oil. I think the EU has already introduced a cap on the price of natural gas coming from Russia. What this will do is basically that they will not get any gas from Russia. And by the same token, I think if they keep on playing this game and capping the prices at which they would pay for their fossil fuels, then probably they will not get a lot of fossil fuels. And that means there will be even less gas and oil and coal, and that would mean that they will be able to generate less electricity. So overall, if you look at these three factors all combined, I think the net effect, the surest of the effects of these price caps will be that there will be less supply in electricity. And that could also worsen, if the demand is not changed, could worsen the energy crisis in the EU. But I think the EU has that they do have a solution, not an optimal one, not a great one, but there is one, which is essentially to stop some factories. I think a lot of factories are already stopping. I think more will follow up. More will follow, not up. In Germany, there are a lot of chemical plants, steel mills. These will have to shut down. I think all the chemical plants, I think Italy also has some, and also in some of the Eastern European countries, they probably shut those down. And if that's not enough, then perhaps we then go to the manufacturing sectors, right? There are still some, not a lot, but still some electronics being manufactured in Europe. Those can go. There are some cars and planes that are assembled, the machinery, they can go. And after that, if there is still some energy shortages, then some public services can go. And of course, people will be forbidden to charge their quote-unquote EV nonsense. They will not be able to charge their electric battery cars. They will not be able to charge their battery cars. Well, very woke, very well. It's actually even greener, right? Just walk. And in fact, walking is even better, because as you walk more, you get warmer and you don't have to use as much heating. And that's actually very good. So anyway, I think that's probably going to is what's going to happen. I don't think that there will be widespread blackouts across the EU. Probably there will not be blackouts at all. It just will be. It's just the industrial use will be curtailed, and I think that would mean that in the coming years, the economic situation in Europe will worsen, and well, that's really bad. I think this is really a reckoning moment for the EU, for their failed and still failing energy policy. I think combine that with the worsening global economic and geopolitical situation, this is going to be a very long period before any solid recovery can be found. I'm thinking 5 to 10 years. And when recovery begins, it's going to be a very hard, very tough, very, a lot of work needs to be done in order to succeed. And Europe will have to compete with other countries with perhaps a lower energy cost. All right, that's my take on this issue. If you enjoy this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, of course. I do also follow me on Twitter and join my Telegram channel. Links in the description. Thanks and have a great day.